All right, want to take you live now to the capital of Qatar, Doha, where actually there has been a meeting with between the Emir of Qatar and the President of Iran.
The brotherly state, on his first official visit to the state of Qatar. It comes as part of the continued dialogue between the two countries and bolstering cooperation at all fronts. Together with His Excellency, I had joint meetings during which we discussed domains of cooperation between our respective countries and exploring the prospect horizon of cooperation, namely in the commercial and economic domains, by way of continued convening of the Joint Economic Committee. We also addressed the dire and momentous conditions the region is living through, namely the Israeli aggression on Gaza Strip, Al-Aqsa Mosque, whereby more than 41,000 Palestinians, including innocent women and children, were killed. Also, yet another aggression by Israel on Lebanon, which is still underway, as a result of which hundreds were killed and thousands injured. This places the entire region on the verge of mayhem and widens the circle of violence. At a time where the state of Qatar is calling on the international community to live up to its responsibility by way of swiftly acting to pressure Israel to put an end to its malicious aggression on Gaza Strip and Lebanon, they continue to support any regional or international efforts aiming at de-escalating the region. The recent escalation in Lebanon over the past few days is what we have been warning of since the beginning of Israel's aggression. It continues to escalate, and the state of Qatar has been closely working to reach a ceasefire and to contain the conflict. Yet, the developments are rapid, and in order to achieve this de-escalation, Israel's unjust war on our brothers in Gaza Strip and Lebanon must come to a halt. Since mediation is our strategic option as part of our foreign policy, we reiterate that we'll continue to exert maximum effort in our mediation effort to put an end to the war in Gaza and have the detained and captives released, despite the continued military escalation by Israel. We also reiterate that the two-state solution and the establishment of an independent, viable Palestinian state on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital is the key to a lasting peace in the region. Any other proposals is nothing, are all doomed to failure. The Palestinian people have been offering great sacrifices over decades, cannot accept less than that. Once again, I thank His Excellency for his visit, wishing him and the Iranian people all progress and prosperity. In the name of Allah, the Omnipotent, the Merciful, as a matter of fact, I extend all thanks and appreciation for the warm reception and generous hospitality. I thank His Royal Highness, the Emir of Qatar, for his views and proposal. And I personally agree and concur with all what he has presented, namely in terms of the multilateral mechanisms. Bolstering our bilateral relations is very significant and important. We must have, as a country, harmony and unity together with our regional and neighboring countries, namely our Muslim countries. And this is what we were commanded by the Prophet. We cannot accept that Israel continued this genocide, war, and crimes all over the region. We are looking forward to bolster our means of cooperation with the state of Qatar. and we together can harness these efforts. And I hope that the discussions between our delegations and the meetings that will take place in all domains, including transportation, health, education, healthcare, and all will no doubt be to the best interest of our respective countries. Investment was also part of the discussion. Bilateral investment, we are fully prepared that in terms of the technology and joint production, we are very prepared to have joint cooperation in this respect. The security of the region is the security of all the Arab and Muslim countries. We are not looking forward, we are not wishing for any war. In each and every address I made, I always stated that we are looking forward for peace and calm. No country would be able to achieve development at a time for. Israel is forcing us to respond, to react. Israel have assassinated our guest in Tehran at the time, at the day of my inauguration. We were asked to maintain calm, and we were told if we do not react, there will not be peace. For the sake of peace, we have maintained self-restraint, and instead of putting an end to their crimes, Israel have acted with more hubris, be it in Gaza or in Lebanon. More crimes, more assassination. No one throughout history has perpetrated such heinous crimes. If they reacted, we will react more fiercely and harshly. This is what we are committed to. The ominous goals of the Zionist entity are all aimed at destabilizing the region. We should work together to steer the region away from all this. The Western countries and the United States have implanted this entity in the region, and they must dictate orders to this entity to stop their crimes rather than turning the entire region, pushing the entire region into mayhem. Destabilizing the region is not to the interest of the United States or the Europeans. Once again, I extend all thanks and appreciation to His Royal Highness, the Emir of Qatar, for the warm reception and generous hospitality. Thank you.
So we've just been listening to the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Thani, meeting with the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Now, the message really from that meeting is that certainly the Emir of Qatar urging the international community to act swiftly to pressure Israel to put an end to what was described as the malicious aggression that is playing out in Gaza, but also now in Lebanon. Let's speak to our diplomatic editor, James Bays. He's been following all of this from Doha. And so, James, there is so much fear about the consequences of Iran's attack last night. But listening to the president there, Masoud Pezeshkian, he seems to be reinforcing the message that Iran exercised a great deal of restraint up till now, and this is not a war that Iran wanted.
Yes, absolutely. The president, who's only been in office for about 2 months, of course, was elected on a policy of being a moderate and wanting outreach and better relations with the world. And he made it clear in that speech that he's been talking about peace and calm in every single speech that he's made. But he said Israel had forced Iran's hand by its actions. And he talked about their guest in Tehran. That, was, of course, was Ismail Haniyeh, the former head of Hamas, who was assassinated while in Tehran, having just attended the president's inauguration. And he said after that, they'd got pressure to try and not respond, and that they had shown restraint because they'd been told that there would be in the offing a ceasefire in Gaza, and they were told that don't act, don't respond, because that might upset the plan for a ceasefire in Gaza. He's made it clear in other comments he's made that they feel that they were duped by the international community by doing that, and he says that given the recent events, really there was no other thing for Iran to do other than take the action that it did. We didn't learn, I don't think, in that reasonably brief press appearance, there were no questions there, a great deal new, but of course I think there are some very significant things going on here. The first thing is that the Iranian president, given everything going on in his country, this was a pre-planned visit, still decided to come here to Qatar for this meeting, for a two-day visit here. There's actually a meeting of Asian leaders, the Asian Cooperative Dialogue that's taking place in Doha, so he'll be attending that too. But I think it's interesting that at this time, when his country may be facing retaliation at any point soon from Israel, that he still decided to make that trip here. Of course, Qatar has been very, very significant diplomatically, and although the Emir of Qatar didn't tell us, I don't think, a great deal new in that news conference, he is an important player because, of course, Qatar and Egypt, along with the US, have been the ones trying to get that ceasefire deal for months and months and months, a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, and have been at the centre of the diplomacy. Qatar is a country that can talk to the United States, can talk to Iran, and I think it's significant that the Iranian president decided to continue his plans once Iran decided to make that response with that missile attack that we saw almost exactly 24 hours ago.
But also, we have seen really over the past year, James, this incredible impotence on the part of America in trying to bring about a ceasefire in Gaza. We now see an expansion of Israeli bombing raids across the region and clearly unwilling to use its diplomatic, military and financial leverage. Are we perhaps starting to see a bit more initiative, sort of concern in the region materializing in terms of these regional players coming together to try and find ways of de-escalating the situation in the absence of anything useful or substantive from Washington or Western countries?
Well, it's interesting, some of the comments we're hearing from Washington and some of the reporting out of Washington suggesting that there is a bit of a division in the administration, with those that are still calling for restraint, and that's been Biden's public line, but he's not shown any willingness to use any pressure on Israel, because, of course, ultimately they have the leverage in terms of being the country that's supplying the weapons or the money for the weapons that Israel is using in its bombardment in Gaza and Lebanon, and others in the administration who privately are saying, let Israel finish the job, let them carry on and degrade Hezbollah and Hamas, and maybe even some, and this isn't clear, who are saying that that Israel should take the next step and have a very strong attack now, use the pretext of what happened 24 hours ago for a very, very strong attack on Iran. And of course, that's why there's concern in this region, because, of course, it's just the other side of the Gulf, and countries here are very, very concerned. They want peace. They want an end to the bombardment of Gaza, the now escalating situation in Lebanon with a ground offensive too. Real concern in the region, and I'm sure that is being discussed very much so behind the scenes here in Doha.
Thank you very much for now, diplomatic editor James Bays.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get latest news from Al Jazeera.